Hi everyone, today we are looking at the game between Re1 Aronian and Arjun Erigaisi. Let's start watching this game. Okay. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4, Italian game, bishop C5, C3. Okay. Uh, Very standard move here. Of course, possible something else. D3, knight C3, castle, but C3. Um, Really good move. Prepare something d4 or b4. Knight f6, d3. Okay, white want to just hold position, don't push immediately. a5. Okay, somewhere a5, it's even better move than a6. Of course, somewhere white wants to do something like b4, a4 and push this pawns to attack the bishop, but after a6 it was possible yet. Yeah, here. But after a5 we interfere to do that. So castle, d6, rook e1. We prepare the standard plan in this position: knight d2, knight f1, and knight go to g3 or to e3. Very standard idea, maneuver in this position. Castle, knight d2, bishop e6. Somewhere, of course, black want to trade these bishops, and white don't want to do that. Bishop goes to b5. If knight will attack, our bishop somewhere can go even to c2 to be on a safe position. So impossible to trade these bishops. Bishop a7, very interesting move too, because somewhere maybe not now, but a little bit later, the main idea is d4. So black must do something with that. So they prepare their position to this move, because bishop on a7 will be out of attacks. So okay, knight f1, continue our plan. Knight e7. Okay, it looks very strange because knight looks good here. This knight protects the bishop, the pawn on e5 and one more central square, but we put it on e7. Strange move, but no. Somewhere our idea to put the knight to g6 here. This knight will protect our pawn too, but in this position after d4 will be a threat d5. Yeah, but when our knight stay on g6, d5 it's not a threat. Okay, that's why knight go to e7, and somewhere of course we have idea to c6 and push even our pawns in the center. So okay, d4, white want to attack immediately. Knight g6, knight g3, and c6. Okay, here is one more important moment. Why? Because here we have different squares where we can go with our bishop, but we put our bishop to f1. This square is good for the bishop because somewhere we just don't interfere other pieces to develop in this position. So bishop on f1 looks good. Okay, bishop g4. Okay, why black do something like that? They pin the knight to this square, so somewhere they attack the center, because yeah, two attacks, was three protectors, but now only two, because now knight is under the pin. So okay, bishop e3 protected one more time, pawn on d4, e take on d4, c take on d4, d5. After d5, we have only one move, e5, because of course if we take after this trade of these two central pawns, isolated pawn on d4 gives a lot of interesting possibilities only for black. So that's why we are forced to play e5, knight go to e8. It looks very strange because of course natural move is knight to e4 to the center square, but you must understand that of course black prepared all these variations, so and analyzed this game maybe 20 more moves after this position. So that's why knight e8 was played here. Knight e4, it was worse because here exists one interesting possibility: h3, bishop take on f3, and just pawn take on f3. Yeah, it's very important because if we play something like knight take on g3 take, we have two bishops, and very important that we captured more space on the board, captured the center, and so on. White has very plain, interesting plan f4 f5 with strong attack on the king side. So it doesn't work. In the game was knight okay, but one more thing, that after knight e4, if we play h3 take, if we play something like knight g5, it looks not good, because f4 of course, and we can go to e6 because f5 forks, so we must come back to e4, and here after f5 queen to g4, position must be very, very annoying for black. So it's a preparation trap, yeah, from Arjun Erigaisi to Re1, because position is very, very aggressive, and okay, knight e8. So we just want to push this pawn to f6 and recapture the center, yeah. So bishop e2. Of course, was possible to play h3, and here was interesting thing, is because after take, we have two different moves. If we play, let's start from the worst move, after f5, it looks very interesting because, of course, if he take, here will be this pressure on the f file, so maybe it's very mm, dangerous for black, but no. After knight take on f5, knight h4, and after take, this position is very interesting, and white has even better position here. So um, maybe somewhere the main idea here to play f4 f5 here to prepare this plan, because after that, after attack of this pawn, black will have no space on the board, so it will be just very, very bad for them. So that's why f5 it's a bad move. f6 it would be better, and after f6, e take on f6, knight take on f6, position for black is absolutely okay. They just remove this pawn from e5. That pawn was really, really annoying for them because it captures the center, captures the space on the board, and so on. Now it's absolutely different situation, and black has even some advantages, yeah, because now pawn on d4 is isolated, so they can attack this pawn and try to attack in the center of the board, because somewhere this open f file will help them to do that. So, okay, let's come back. In this position was queen take on f3. No. Bishop e2, f6, e take on f6, knight take on f6, queen b3. Looks very natural because we develop our queen with attack on b7, so nice move. Bishop take on f3, bishop take on f3, queen d7. Position looks maybe very calm and so on, but after a few moves, everything will be changed. Okay, rook to a to d1. We protected the d4 square, d4 pawn one more time. h6. Somewhere we protected this square from the bishop because maybe they wanted to do something like that. But exists one more interesting idea in the position, not only restriction for the bishop. Yeah. Okay, bishop to e2. Standard maneuver. Try to improve his bishop, because bishop on f3 looks at the pawn here. It's not very active, so bishop want to stay somewhere on this diagonal, and of course Levon do it. Rook a to e8, develop the rook, everything right. Bishop d3 and bishop knight to h4, very standard move here. This knight is closer to the king somewhere, so black, so somewhere possible to create attack to the king. So f3, they want to protect these squares from the knight, because of course here knight g4 could be an unpleasant move, so f3 protected it. And a very, very interesting possibility for black here, they try to improve his knight on f6 and knight to h7. Like I said you before, h6 was with two ideas: to protect g5 square and to create this maneuver knight h7 and knight g5 with attack on f3 square and h3 as well. So bishop b1, white want to do something to create better reef to the king side, and it will be aggressive. It looks aggressive, but if we calculate right everything, it's not a big threat for black. So knight g5, queen c2, at g6, and here it was a huge mistake, yeah, because now in the position black could win this game. No, okay, maybe not immediately, but could get a huge advantage here. So um, here was idea just to play knight to f3, and it's very strange because Arjun Erigaisi, it's a very, very good tactical player. He can calculate everything, and he proved it million times. But in this game, he didn't see this possibility, and it's very, very strange. So, and even he didn't calculate here. He spent less than 2 minutes in this position. G6 he played, but after knight take on f3, g take on f3, and rook take on f3, if white plays something like queen to h7, king to f7, in this position is just bad for white, because impossible to interfere this queen go to h3, and somewhere idea to mate, and on e3 this piece will be under strong pressure. So position is very unpleasant, and black would win this game if they found this possibility. So okay, in the game was different thing. In the game, black played g6. It's a protection against this battery of the bishop and the queen. So king to h1. Of course, position is very annoying, so white must at all time calculate everything to not miss some interesting sacrifices here. Queen to f7, queen to f2. You can ask me why we don't take it on g5, but it's a very important thing, because after this trade, yeah, our pawns look strange, but in general, impossible to attack this two pawns. And now we have open file. We have one more idea somewhere: king g7, rook h8, and somewhere it can be mate on h file. So, and one very important thing too, that bishop on a7 now attack this pawn on d4, and rook must protect it at all times. So this pawn is weaker without the bishop on e3. So even position from the positional side, the position is worse after this trade. So okay, let's come back. Queen to f7, queen to f2. Somewhere want to protect everything, but of course position is unpleasant, because black keeps this pressure on the position. So bishop to b8, somewhere we want to increase this tension. Yes, so knight f1, knight f5. Somewhere we want to take on e3 and trade our knight for the bishop. So this pawn will be weaker, like I said it before. And bishop d2, bishop c7 protected the pawn. Of course, black has enough time to do everything, so they can play calm and just continue to attack. Knight to e3, take. Okay, here was the interesting thing, because black can take on d4, because after knight to g4, with two threats, take here and take here, was the only move to play queen g7 to protect everything. But after queen h4, h5, rook take on e8, rook take on e8, bishop take on g5, h take on g4, and after bishop f6, white wins this game, because very, very unpleasant double attack. So let's come back. That's why Arjun didn't take this pawn. He took on e3, bishop take on e3, king to g7, queen to f1. Of course, position bad for white, because they can just stay and wait the threat that will create black in this position. So very unpleasant thing. Rook to e6, bishop to g1. They want to trade maybe everything, two pair of rooks. Okay, rook e8, take, a3. And one more very important thing here is that, and one more very important thing in the position, that with white pieces play a guy who really good tactical player who can create attacks and so on. This is the best part of his style and so on. But he's not a very good protector when he must stay, wait, and just stay calm at all time to not miss something. It's very unpleasant for him, especially. So in this position, he lost in a few moves. Yeah, a3, h5. Of course, black can improve position in different ways. So h5, somewhere maybe they want to push this pawn even to h3, and if they push to h4 and white will answer h3, all these black squares will be unprotected, so bishop can do even more things here and so on. So that's why very unpleasant position again. Queen to f2, queen to f4, and the rook to e1, and you can find here the winning move, and black just won this game immediately. Okay, here is winning move, knight to h3. Knight to h3, and why is it winning? Because after a g take on h3, rook take on e1, queen take on e1, queen f3 mate. So it's impossible to take the knight, but the only move to play queen f1 to protect the rook and just keep this position. But after knight take on g1, g3, the only move, because if we take with the king, of course we can take this pawn, and after this moves it's just mate. So it was impossible, and we must do something like g3 to close this diagonal for this battery. So, but after rook take on e1, of course we can take, because after take black has two extra pieces. So queen take on e1, knight take on f3, and after queen e7, in between move, but it doesn't help because queen f7 and one extra piece on the board without chances, black wins this game. So that's why position was absolutely bad. But of course, in this position, white was not forced to play rook e8. Of course, they could do something else like bishop d3 to hold the position. But okay, after this game, Levon Aronian left the tournament, the World Cup 2025. And so thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Goodbye, goodbye.